you take your son and get out of this house immediately. From now on, I'm going to live here with my mistress." When my husband, who had been having an affair at work, brought his mistress home, I was completely taken aback by the sudden turn of events. I had married my husband and had a child. And due to the wishes of my husband and mother-in-law, I became a homemaker. Despite being fed up with my meddlesome mother-in-law, I had supported my husband for many years. However, my husband didn't care about me at all and had his own affairs outside. "Actually, she's pregnant. I have no use for you anymore, so let's get a divorce." My husband, who got another woman pregnant, demanded a divorce without any apology. The selfishness of my husband and his mistress made my blood boil. How much more could they disrespect me? She's just more compatible with me, both in personality and physically. My husband had a smug grin on his face. "I've let you have an easy life as a homemaker for so long. You shouldn't have any complaints, right?" Hearing my husband's words, I was dumbfounded. The mistress also commented, "Really, being a homemaker must be nice. I envy you. And you know, other people's belongings look so appealing, making me just want them." The mistress hinted that she seduced my husband herself and didn't seem guilty at all. "I'm really happy right now. I'll share some of my happiness with you." The mistress looked triumphant towards me. "Is that so? Then I'll also give something back to the two of you." As a return gift, I gave them tickets to a one-way trip to hell. My name is Gina Manning, and I am a 40-year-old homemaker, raising my 13-year-old son, Nathan. I have always been somewhat reluctant to rely on others as the eldest daughter among 3 siblings. Both of my parents worked, so I had been helping my mother from a young age, and developed a habit of doing everything by myself. I met my husband Kevin at work when I was 22 years old after graduating from university. We were colleagues and gradually got closer as we went out for drinks and shared work frustrations and worries. A year later, Kevin asked me out, and we started dating. I am a responsible type, often relied upon by others, while Kevin is more laid back and less dependable. I mostly ended up listening to Kevin's complaints when we were together, but we were comfortable like friends without any tension. Independent and reliable girls, like you, are my type. I don't like girls who are too clingy. Kevin always said that. And he was doing well at work, being entrusted with more responsible tasks. 2 years into our relationship, when a junior named Mandy Hansen joined the company, I was assigned to be her mentor. Mandy was small and cute, with big eyes, and delicate like a modern-day newscaster, idolized by the male staff as if she were an actual idol. While Mandy was doted upon by the men, she was disliked by the women for flirting and acting cute. When she encountered problems, she would always come to me first. So I cherished her and took good care of her. Additionally, Mandy had a way of relying on others that somehow never felt bothersome. Thank you for always teaching me so thoroughly. I admire you and want to be a career woman like you. I even bought the same pen as you to be like you." With that, she showed her pen and giggled innocently. Mandy effortlessly made such charming comments that could even make a woman like me swoon, possibly leading the male staff to misunderstand her affections. I might look this way, but I'm actually quite aggressive. I confess to people I like. A bit of a challenge makes it exciting. Saying that, she giggled. No man would feel bad being approached by Mandy. She was cute enough to be envied by women. Moreover, Mandy had a cunning way about her that made others inadvertently help her with her work. When Mandy made a mistake, I would follow up. And finding the right balance in my sternness was challenging as she would tear up easily. At work, the male staff would tell me, "Please don't bully Mandy. Meanwhile, the female staff would say, "Don't spoil Miss Hanson." This put me in a difficult position. Meanwhile, Mandy seemed oblivious to the atmosphere around her. Seeing me struggling, Kevin would kindly express his concern. "Don't push yourself too hard. I'm worried about you, Gina." At such times, my usually unreliable husband seemed dependable. In that year, at the age of 25, I married Kevin, but continued working for a while. Kevin helped with household chores, and our life together was peaceful. 2 years later, at 27, I was delighted to find out I was pregnant. I wanted to continue working as I found fulfillment in my job. But my traditional mother-in-law strongly objected. A wife should silently support her husband from behind. Always remember to be grateful to your husband. If women become too forward and work outside, they'll neglect their husbands and homes, leading to nothing good. Thus, pressured by my mother-in-law, I reluctantly quit my job and became a full-time homemaker, diligently managing the household and childcare, while my husband helped with the chores when we both worked. He did nothing to help once I became a homemaker. On his days off, he would either lounge around on the sofa all day or go out to play golf with his colleagues. We never went out together as a family, creating a one-sided operation at home. And there was another thing that troubled me, that is, my mother-in-law. Since I had quit my job, my mother-in-law, who lived nearby, would come to our house almost daily to make snide remarks. "You must be nice and relaxed not working. Once your husband goes to work, you're free to do whatever you want." Despite her insistence that I quit my job, this was her attitude. "Yes, I'll check if the plumbing is clean today. And have you resolved what we discussed yesterday? Can Nathan still not dress himself? Isn't it a problem with the parents' upbringing?" My mother-in-law would rant one-sidedly and constantly complain. "Without me, you can't properly manage the house or childcare." It's pathetic. She never seemed satisfied with anything I did, even though I managed the household chores without any slip-ups. "Are you cleaning properly? There's a lot of condensation in this house, and it causes mold." Despite her own home being cluttered like a junkyard, my mother-in-law oddly always had something to say about the cleanliness of our house. She was meticulous about the seasoning in the food, yet she never left any food I cooked uneaten. Not that I dislike housework or childcare, but the relationship with my mother-in-law was tiring, and I increasingly felt the desire to work outside the home. Housework and childcare have no definitive goals or right answers, but a job provides legitimate recognition. Above all, I originally loved working. With my son about to start preschool, I was considering re-entering the workforce. My son will start preschool soon, so I'm thinking about working part-time. When I finally brought it up with my mother-in-law and husband, she snapped at me with fierce anger. "What are you talking about? The child is still young. Stop talking about work. It's impossible for you." That's right. Mom is correct. Just stay home as you've been. My husband made a skeptical face, just like my mother-in-law. With the excuse that my housekeeping was not perfect, she opposed my employment. And my husband went along with it, making it extremely difficult for me to work outside. Bullying me seemed to be a form of stress relief for my mother-in-law, and I felt like I was her outlet. Even afterwards, I was not allowed to work, instead spending my days taking care of childcare, housework, and dealing with my mother-in-law. Since the birth of my son, there had been no marital relations with my husband. I wanted to give my son a sibling and broached the subject of having more children with my husband, but he evaded. "I'm not really interested in that anymore. I'm too tired from work every day." Before I was pregnant with my son, my husband had a strong desire. But since then, we had not discussed having more children. However, my mother-in-law complained. Gina, you're home all day and have plenty of time. Hurry up and have another child. It's pitiful for your son to be an only child. Having children is also a wife's duty. Oh, how pathetic. She often made insensitive remarks without knowing the situation. I remained silently enduring her words. My mother-in-law lamented to my husband that we didn't have a second child. Kevin, can't you have a second one? Mom, I'm trying, but maybe it's all about timing. My husband dodged her comments. Then, the compatibility between you two must be bad. My mother-in-law said insensitively, and I was exasperated. One day, as time passed and I turned 40, my mother-in-law fell down the stairs and had to be hospitalized. She had been applying wax that she bought at a hardware store to the hallway and stairs, insisting it needed to be done even though no one asked her, and she slipped and fell. I was startled by a loud thud and a scream and rushed to find her sitting on her buttocks. I quickly called an ambulance, and she was taken to the hospital for an emergency visit. It turned out she had fractured her ankle and needed surgery. While I was accompanying her, she complained in front of the doctor. My daughter-in-law is so sloppy. That's why I have to come and help out every day. If I couldn't walk, it would be a real problem. Despite her spiteful remarks, I was relieved to see that aside from her foot, she seemed healthy otherwise. Call Kevin quickly, please. The mouthy mother-in-law. Understood. Kevin is currently on a business trip, but I'll contact him right away. I tried contacting my husband, who was supposedly on a 2-day business trip, but couldn't reach him. I thought, this is troubling. There's also the matter of the consent form for the surgery. I need to tell my husband quickly. When I contacted his company, they told me he was on leave. I had never heard that my husband had taken a leave of absence. The secrecy about his actions made my heart flutter with unease. I didn't want to do this, but I had no choice. I hurriedly opened my husband's computer to check his messages. He had shared his account with the home computer. I was surprised at how easily I could access the messages. Since marrying my husband, I had been so busy with housework and childcare that I never considered he might be cheating. But then, I found a familiar name in the messages. When I opened the chat, messages like, "I love you more than my wife," and "I'm so happy we could be intimate today," continued endlessly. Replies from the other person also included, "I love you" and "I want to be with you more." Apparently, they were currently traveling together. And, shockingly, my husband's affair partner was someone I knew well. Could my husband have been so careless as to think he wouldn't get caught? Or was I just oblivious? Incredibly, my husband's affair partner was none other than Mandy Hansen, the junior colleague. Kevin and Mandy had been having an affair for 13 years. It started around the time I was pregnant with my son. The betrayal by both of them was deeply shocking, and I was paralyzed for a while. Now aware of my husband's infidelity, I decided to look for more evidence. As I investigated, I discovered disturbingly that my husband had recorded his nighttime activities with his affair partner and saved them on his computer. It appeared that the partner was also enthusiastically consenting to the recordings, which made me feel even more nauseous. I fought the urge to delete everything and instead saved the data as evidence. I also hired a detective agency to investigate his conduct. Then, I contacted someone to look into his activities at work. While I was busy with the investigation, my husband returned home with his mistress. "Where have you two been?" "I've been trying to contact you about your mother." I responded calmly, pretending to be composed. "Mom just hurt her leg a bit. But there's something more important I need to discuss." My husband answered nonchalantly. "What important thing?" Actually, Mandy and I have been together for a long time. Saying so, he held Mandy's hand. Next to him, Mandy was beaming with a broad smile. It's been a while, Gina. Yes, it's true. I'm pregnant with Kevin's baby now, and we were discussing our future together. My husband also placed his hand on Mandy's stomach, looking at her affectionately. Actually, I'm about to be promoted at work. She's pregnant now, so I have no use for you. You'll agree to a divorce, right? My husband demanded a divorce without any apology. I thought, do my son and I mean nothing to him? The selfishness of my husband and Mandy made my blood boil. How much more could they disrespect me? Just when I thought I had discovered my husband's affair, I was suddenly told about a pregnancy and a divorce, leaving my face twisted and my mind in utter disarray. She's just more compatible with me, both in personality and physically. Women really need to be good at being charming and sweet. My husband was grinning smugly. To me, you're less of a wife now, more like a housekeeper. In front of Mandy, my husband boldly hurled these insults. I've let you have an easy life as a homemaker all this time, so you must be enjoying it, right? I thought, easy being a homemaker? He understands nothing. I was dumbfounded by his words. Hearing this, Mandy also said, really, being a homemaker must be nice. I envy you. And you know, other people's belongings look so appealing, making me just want them. She hinted that she seduced my husband herself and showed no remorse at all. I'm really happy right now. I got the husband of Gina I admired, and even a baby on the way. I'll share some of this happiness with you. Mandy made a triumphant face at me. Is that so? Then I'll give something back to you too as well. I'll send a celebration gift. I said this in a calm voice, having moved past anger, and then operated my mobile phone. At that moment, my husband's phone buzzed too, and he checked an email from his work. What? Why is this happening? Kevin exclaimed loudly. Drawn by his reaction, Mandy also looked at his mobile phone. Oh. No way. Mandy was equally shocked. In my phone, there was a video of my husband and Mandy in the act, which I had just sent to the company-wide staff email. I've shared it with everyone at the company as well. I send it via the employee email, so I think everyone is watching it by now. I spoke flatly, in contrast to my husband whose face was gradually turning pale. This email will be seen by the president too. What have you done? I thought you were long out of the company's matters. He was also surprised that I could contact the company. Do you remember my uncle? You've seen him at family gatherings, haven't you? I revealed that the company's executive vice president was my uncle. What? I've never met him face to face. He was your uncle. I had no idea, and My husband looked slightly panicked, but then said, well, it doesn't matter, I'll divorce you anyway and marry Mandy. He seemed completely oblivious to the gravity of the situation. He was clearly excited about his new life with her. You take our son and quickly move out of this house. From now on, this house is where I will live with Mandy. That was the last straw for me. Understood. I wish you two happiness. After that, my son and I immediately moved out and relocated to a new home. There was a reason I handed over the house so easily. The house, which my husband had bought without consulting me before our marriage, was actually a defective building. I had been considering moving out soon after consulting with my husband. The incident with my mother-in-law slipping was partly due to the floor wax. But the house itself was tilting. There were issues even with opening and closing the doors. My husband usually lounged around at home and had no interest in the condition of the house. There were places all around that needed repairs. Moreover, he was unaware that the attic storage was leaking. And it seemed like the damage from termites was spreading under the floor as well. Continuing to live there would lead to a health problem. I decided to inform my husband about this in writing later. Thus, the house he intended to make a new home with Mandy was to be let go. No doubt, my husband would be very frustrated. Later, the video included evidence that my husband and Mandy were on an affair trip, pretending to be on a business trip. The embarrassing video spread across the entire company, with my husband and Mandy as the stars. I gathered evidence of the affair and filed for divorce, demanding property division and child support. Afterward, feeling uncomfortable at the company, my husband resigned along with Mandy, saying, "I'm talented, so I can get a job anywhere. I'm not the old me anymore." A year later, Mandy appeared at my door holding a baby. For a moment, I couldn't recognize the person in front of me. The once doll-like cute Mandy had changed completely due to age and the fatigue of childcare. And she had gained a lot of weight. "Gina, I came today because I have something I need to ask. There's something strange about Kevin." A tired-looking Mandy. Strange in what way? I really didn't want to talk, but I responded calmly. "He's been trying to reapply to several companies but keeps making mistakes. And got fired during the probation period. Now, he's unemployed. Can you believe it? Recently, Kevin had even stopped looking for jobs. He just lounges around at home all day and does nothing. It's unbelievable." She was managing to raise the child somehow, but Kevin didn't help with childcare. And the mother-in-law who had been injured after falling down the stairs needed care. And had moved in with them. That crazy mother-in-law is living with us too, and I can't stand it. She says she was better off with the previous wife, even though she's depending on me for care. I can't believe it. Mandy seemed quite overwhelmed. The mother-in-law was still complaining about Mandy and even about working. Kevin used to hold a position and was capable at his previous company. He's unreliable and so different from before we married. Do you know anything about that? Oh, well, Kevin was never really good at his job. I calmly explained to her. What do you mean? He wasn't good at his job. Surprised, she exclaimed with her eyes wide open. Kevin's advancement was only because my uncle was the executive vice president of the company. Not because of his own abilities. I calmly continued. Then, I revealed that I had been supporting his work even after retiring. I helped with data management and report creation at home because he struggled with these tasks. I even created the presentation materials and the proposal that catalyzed his promotion. His career at the company was possible only with my support behind the scenes. He opposed me working outside because I was helping him so much. However, over time, he took my assistance for granted and started to believe he was more competent than he actually was. He forgot that he could barely manage his work alone. It seems I spoiled him too much. When I explained the true extent of his incompetence to Mandy, she said, "If I had known he was such a pathetic man, I would have never married him. I'm overwhelmed just looking after myself and the child. I can't afford to care for his mother and him. I don't need such a useless man." Mandy completely lost her interest in Kevin. After ranting about her inability to support him, Mandy, burdened by their child, demanded a reduction in child support. I am a victim who was deceived by that man. Despite having pursued my husband herself, this was her excuse. Truly, she was reaping what she sowed. Mandy's audacity was typical, displaying her usual manipulativeness. But it no longer garnered any sympathy. You better be prepared to pay the full amount for child support. Oh, no. Please, Gina, forgive me. She persisted, but but I firmly rejected her demands and sent her away. 8 years later, I turned 48, and my son, now 22, moved out upon getting a job. Kevin was quickly abandoned by Mandy after all. He tried to dodge paying child support but was caught by my uncle and ended up working on a distant fishing boat. My mother-in-law, lonely after her son was sent to the fishing boat, spent her old age alone. My son graduated from university, and Kevin managed to finish paying child support, though his health deteriorated. Meanwhile, Mandy returned to her parents' home after divorcing my husband. It seems her parents had to cover her payments, and now she's working hard to repay them. I hear this from my uncle, but considering all that has happened, I feel no pity. I only hope that my son becomes a self-reliant man, unlike his father. Fortunately, my son says he doesn't want to be like his father and is growing up to be dependable, taking care of his own matters. I also succeeded in starting my own small business. It's a company that supports mothers who struggle to work because they have young children. The company atmosphere is friendly and always full of laughter. I plan to continue walking my own path,